This is Twin Cities Adventures, and today in the kitchen I'm going to make English Christmas cake, or in America we call it fruitcake. But fruitcake in America is really sweet and sugary because people use candied cherries and pineapple, and I think it's gross. So I got to talking to a friend from England, and we talked about Christmas cake, and it sounds like that's way better. So I'm going to make a Christmas cake for you today, and I'm going to do it in like 10-15 minutes, and it's going to be like the easiest, quickest Christmas cake recipe you'll ever find. It's going to be awesome. 10 minutes prep time, and then however long it takes to cook in the oven, which won't take forever. And you can eat it the same day, folks, so let's do this. The first thing we need to do is get an assortment of dried fruits. So instead of buying the candied ones that are really sugary and gross, we're going to use real dried fruits, and then we're going to simmer that with some brandy and infuse that into it so it happens really fast so you don't have to wait 3 months to age it. I have some golden raisins, regular raisins, some apricots, and I have a blend of diced prunes with cranberries, cherries, and blueberries.
And we got some pitted dates from the cabinet.
First we have about a cup of chopped up pitted dates. 1 roughly chopped up cup of dried apricots. 1 cup of dried diced prunes, cranberries, cherries, and blueberries. A half a cup of golden raisins. And half a cup of regular raisins. You see, so far we have 4 cups of dried fruit. Now don't get too hung up on which exact fruit I used. Just go to the grocery store and buy a variety of mixed fruit. It doesn't really matter. So one of the reasons why my Christmas cake or fruit cake recipe is going to be so quick and easy is that I'm going to convert all of the traditional Old English recipes into modern convenient things that you can find at the grocery store today. Now over the stovetop you're going to get yourself a nice good sized pan, pour all 4 cups of dried fruits into it. Now you're going to add a half a cup of brandy to your dried fruits. I use Christian Brothers brandy. It doesn't really matter which kind you use, just buy any kind. So after you're done with that, I'm going to take the brandy. You're going to take a little swig. Now you're going to want to take a nice size orange and you're going to zest the whole thing. Now I'm going to take this whole orange and I'm going to squeeze all of the juice in here. And I always do it over the strainer anytime I squeeze anything in, just in case there's like any kind of seeds that pop out of anything.
Which there most of the time is.
When we do lemons and limes there are, but not this orange probably won't. There's that one. And then you need 1 cup of juice. Any juice is fine. This is just a juice box that I got out of the fridge that the kids pack in their lunches. So I'll add 1 cup of juice in there. And then we're going to mix that up. Okay, now we're going to turn the burner on. We're going to bring that to a light boil. We're just going to simmer that so everything absorbs those juices. Okay, that's coming to a nice simmer, so I'm going to add half a stick of butter. That's 8 tablespoons. So we'll let that melt into that. And then I'm going to add some molasses. So I have 1/3 a cup of molasses. Okay, that's all melted and simmering still, and all of those juices are sucking up into the fruits. So now I'm going to add some more spice. In Europe they use mixed spices, and I googled that, and in America the equivalent is pumpkin pie spice. It's very similar. There's a lot of cinnamon in it. And we're going to take a tablespoon of that, sprinkle that, and give that a little mix. Now I'm going to turn the burner off because that's starting to thicken, and we really don't want anything more to happen there. I want that to start cooling down before we add the rest of the ingredients. Now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of Hershey's cocoa powder. It's 2 tablespoons. Then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of instant coffee, which is whatever you got. So there's 1 tablespoon of instant coffee. I'll mix that in.
This smells so good.
We're going to add 1/4 cup of honey. In this case, it's clover honey, but whatever you've got. 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now we're going to add some nuts. I have a little bag here. This is a 1/2 cup of pecans. 1/2 cup of macadamia nuts. And I have a mason jar of mixed nuts and seeds here, and there's some raisins in there. So just because I want more nuts in there, I'm going to add about 1 cup of mixed nuts in there also. There's 1 cup of mixed nuts. It's 2 cups total of nuts. So I'm going to mix that all up now. 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And then we'll add 3 beaten eggs and mix that up really nicely. And now that that's all mixed up, we're going to add in this bowl I have 2 cups of white flour, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So I'll just sprinkle that in, and I'll mix that all up. There we have it, all mixed up. Our Christmas cake is all ready to bake. So I'm going to take this springform pan. This is an 8-inch springform pan. It's like 8 inches by about 3 inches. But first I'm going to wrap that up in parchment paper. First I cut a piece of parchment paper and line the bottom with that. Now I have another piece I'm going to wrap all around the perimeter. So I cut this piece of parchment paper in half lengthwise, so half is down there for something else. And then I used a stapler and I made a cylinder out of it. Now don't worry, I put the staples on there so they'd be on the outside, so it would not ever be able to come off in the Christmas cake. So now I just put that inside there like that. And I want that to be higher, so just the way that cooks and the way the steam and the heat releases, you want that high, just like that, and that way the top of the cake doesn't burn. And after I put the mixture in, I'm gonna cinch some of this together and I'm gonna staple that in a couple spots and leave a venting hole. Okay, here is the batter, so I'm gonna plop that inside the center here. Just neatly poke that all around and flatten that out. Okay, that is all flattened out in there, nice and neat. And now you can just pinch that off and clip that and bake that if you want, just like that. Or if you want to be decorative, I have another 1/2 cup of pecans. I'm gonna place those on top in a nice pretty decorative pattern for the fun of it, and I'll show you that in a second. There we have it, our extra 1/2 cup of pecans just placed in a nice pattern over the top of that. That'll just make it look pretty. Alright, now this parchment paper is really standing tall so the heat doesn't burn the top of the cake at all. So what I'm going to do is just pinch this and use a stapler. That way it's almost like covering it a bit, but there's a nice vent in the center so the heat and steam can escape, but that kind of closes it up nice and neat like that. So what I'm going to do is preheat the oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to bake this for 2 hours.
Ooh, look at that.
Alright, I've got the bottom oven set to 300 degrees. I've lowered the rack and I'm going to put this tinted with parchment paper Christmas cake right there for 2 hours, and then we'll check that. Alright, a couple hours has gone by. And let's pull this guy out. Take a peek at it here. Alright, take a peek inside there at that. No. That's been 2 hours. So what I'm going to do is take a toothpick and poke it in there. See if it comes out clean. It comes out clean. So The whole house smells so good. Yep, that's done. Then you want to do a touch test, see if it's kind of dense. See if it was all jiggly and bubbly, then it wouldn't be done in the center. But this is completely done, and the toothpick comes out clean everywhere. So that's it. 300 degrees for 2 hours. And look at that pretty design there with those pecans. Isn't that nice? Mm-hmm. So let me show you one last step. If you wanted to, you could add more brandy to your Christmas cake. All you do is you take any kind of kitchen tool and poke a bunch of holes in it, and then you could drizzle a shot glass of brandy over the top of that. And you could do that once and then like a week later do it another time if you wanted. That's if you wanted to add more booze. I don't want to add any more booze. There was a little bit in there and it got cooked off, so this is going to be flavored perfectly with the brandy and the cocoa powder and coffee and like all these delicious flavors and spices. This is going to be the ultimate Christmas cake, and it's like I whipped that thing out in 10 minutes and then I baked it for 2 hours. Old classic English Christmas cake. So made for your convenience. Alright, so I let that cool off for a little bit. And this is a springform pan, so all I have to do is release it like that and remove that. And now what I'll do, just lift this up. That's easy. Pop that upside, slide that off, take this off, put the plate, and there we have it. Delicious Christmas cake. You can let this age in a container or like on a plate in the fridge. I'm gonna keep mine in the fridge. You can let that age 2-3 months in the fridge, that's fine. It's gonna be just delicious, but I cannot wait. I'm gonna take a slice out and show you what that looks like from the side. Look at that beautiful, beautiful Christmas cake. That is thoroughly cooked all the way through. 2 hours at 300 degrees. Look at all those nuts and like dried fruits in there. This is amazing. Let me put that on a plate and give that a taste test. Alright, one more quick view of the top. And look at that slice. Filled with dry fruits and nuts. Yummy. That looks so good. Alright, here goes. That is really good. It's not too sweet. It's not like American fruitcake at all. Because American fruitcake, remember, it's got all those candied cherries and pineapple and it tastes really sugary. This has a really like mild cocoa flavor, mild coffee. It's got the delicious tones from all those dried fruits, the crunch from the nuts. This is the most amazing fruitcake I've ever had in my life. Alright, everybody that watches my videos knows that every recipe that I do is the quickest and the easiest no-nonsense recipe. I read a lot of recipes and watched a lot of videos on English or British Christmas cakes, and some of them are confusing. A lot of them are in grams or milliliters or weird ingredients you can't find in the US. So I converted everything, made up this whole recipe out of all the inspiration that I saw, converted everything into understandable directions in the US, and I used normal ingredients. I bought everything at Cub Foods, so easy to find ingredients. If you don't have exactly what I used, it really doesn't matter. So I hope you enjoyed this. Make this now. Let it sit in your fridge for the next couple months. Break it out at Christmas time. Thanks for watching. Twin Cities Adventures out.